I'll never forget the day I drove up my old gravel drive, coffee still hot in my hand, and saw an entire neighborhood standing right where my cattle used to graze. I mean, at 98 brand new houses, lined up like soldiers, each worth more than some folks' lifetime earnings. $34 million of someone else's idea of progress, dumped right on a land I'd owned for 3 decades. And let me tell you, the woman behind it, Victoria Ashworth, the queen bee of HOAs, she thought she'd pulled off the perfect heist. Problem is, when you steal from a land surveyor whose family's been walking boundaries since Coolidge was in the White House, you'd better make damn sure you didn't just hand him the deed to your whole shiny subdivision. If you've never had to stare down a stranger unpacking a U-Haul on land where your granddad taught you to drive fence posts, let me paint the picture. That morning, I see kids chalking up driveways, families laughing in the breeze, golden retrievers chasing tennis balls, except they're doing it on my pasture without so much as a by your leave. And then Vicky, the self-declared sheriff of Heritage Meadows, has the gall to slap me with a restraining order for threatening families with my surveying tripod. Can you imagine? She steals my land, then paints me as the dangerous lunatic next door. It'd be funny if it didn't make your blood boil. Now, here's what she didn't know. My grandfather's 1924 railroad contract means every house she built, every swing set, every freshly sodded yard, it all legally becomes mine the second that foundation dries. That's federal law, not small-town gossip. And let me warn you, never try to out-hustle a man who spent 40 years documenting property theft for a living. Before I get too deep, let me ask you, what would you do if someone built a whole neighborhood on your land? I want to hear it. Drop your wildest revenge plan in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. But here's my story. My name's Ezekiel Thornfield. Most folks just call me Zeke. 67 years old, Tennessee to the bone, and stubborn enough that I've outlasted 2 marriages and 1 near-fatal run-in with a John Deere combine. My granddad left me 847 acres of rolling Millbrook County hills, and the best advice I ever got: never trust a man who won't get his boots muddy. Mornings around here, you smell honeysuckle, diesel, and a touch of cattle. Remind you this is still farm country, no matter how many minivans move in. For 40 years, I've walked these lines with a thermos of black coffee, checking fence posts and counting head. My late wife, Martha, bless her, said I kept records like a crazy man. She wasn't wrong. Since she passed 5 years back and our kids scattered, 1 to Portland, 1 to Atlanta, I've rattled around that old farmhouse with nothing but cows and memories for company. That's when Vicky showed up, clipboard in hand, voice as sweet as cold syrup, always driving a gleaming white Lexus. 52 years old, hair perfect, HOA badge pinned like she's running for president. She'd been circling my land for nearly a decade, sending friendly offers to buy my pasture at half what it was worth. Each time she showed up, her perfume hit you before she did. Now, the real trouble started when I came home from 3 weeks in Oregon, helping my daughter through a divorce. I was craving a slow morning, maybe fix a broken fence if I felt ambitious. Instead, what I got was the sound of lawnmowers and kids yelling. No cows, no meadowlarks, just the chaos of suburbia where my pasture used to be. First thing I did was grab my surveying gear and head out, half thinking maybe a family broke down or some kids were lost. But as I crossed my own field, all I smelled was asphalt and new lumber. Then it hit me: 98 identical houses, lawns like green carpet, a big stone sign reading Heritage Meadows Estates and some fancy script, and every single one right on my property. I just stood there, coffee mug slipping out of my hand and shattering on a rock, staring like a man who'd landed in the wrong county. The old oak tree with Martha's initials, still there. Willow Creek, still there. But now, someone had built a little slice of the American dream on top of it all without asking. Vicky rolls up in her golf cart, HOA badge flashing, looks me up and down and says, "Excuse me, sir, this is private property. Heritage Meadows is for residents and their guests only." Can you imagine? Me, standing on the same ground my granddad broke his back to fence, being called a trespasser. That's when I realized I was about to get schooled in small-town corruption. I try to keep my cool. Ma'am, there's got to be a mistake. This land's been mine since 1994. She laughs. God, that laugh. Then flashes a stack of papers and tells me, 847 acres, purchase fair and square from Millbrook Development. Maybe you made a surveying error, honey. Her condescension made my ears burn, but I've learned, when someone's robbing you blind, keep your mouth shut and get your paperwork in order. I asked to see the documents. She clutched that folder like it was the launch codes, but offered a deal. Surely we can work something out. These families have kids starting school. That's when I knew it wasn't a mistake. It was a scam, wrapped in fake sympathy. 3 days later, her cousin, Deputy Mike, serves me a restraining order accusing me of menacing residents with a measuring tape. Suddenly, I'm banned from my own land under threat of jail. Vicky, meanwhile, fires up a neighborhood safety patrol. Snapshots of me feeding cattle get posted on Facebook as proof I'm a menace. She claims my old farmhouse is lowering property values and posts side-by-side pictures to rally the newcomers against me. But here's where 40 years of surveying pays off. While she's performing on social media, I'm at the county courthouse pulling records. The supposed sale of my land? Filing fee was $50. That's nonsense. Tennessee requires big property deals to have notarized affidavits and fat fees. This paperwork stank. Then I saw the notary stamp. Eleanor Hutchkins. Problem was, Eleanor had passed 6 months before she signed my deed transfer. Somebody had forged her name. I call my old buddy Bulldog, Clarence McKenzie, a surveyor who's seen every trick in the book. He and I walked every boundary with his GPS. Zeke, he said, spitting tobacco, the whole subdivision's sitting on your dirt, clear as daylight. As I gathered evidence, Vicky cranked up the heat. Security guards patrolled in golf carts, acting like my cattle were a terrorist threat. She filed complaints with the licensing board, claiming I was mentally unfit. County officials started talking about condemning my old house as a public nuisance. Like 70 years of honest were made it less worthy than those cookie-cutter mansions. One night, checking fence lines, I found security cameras hidden in my trees, wires snaking to their subdivision, powered right off my meter. Years ago, I'd helped a client catch copper thieves with a magnetic detector, so I knew what to look for. They'd been watching me for months. Sitting in Martha's garden, I almost gave up. Thought maybe I should just take their offer, sell out, and retire somewhere sunny. But I heard my granddad's voice in my head. When someone steals your land, they're stealing your family story. And Martha, in her journal, wrote, Zeke never backs down from what's right. That settled it. Vicky's next move? She called Channel 7 News, played the victim on live TV, sobbing about confused old men threatening families. I got painted as the villain, but I kept working, digging, recording every encounter on my phone, setting up legal trail cams, building my case. Harassment followed. Dead animals showed up on my porch. Nails in my driveway, tires slashed. They blocked my mailbox, claimed it was on HOA easement. Security guards threatened to arrest me for picking up my own mail. That's when help arrived. Ruby Morgan, an investigative reporter who smelled something rotten. She dug through public records, found Heritage Meadows marketing from years before the sale, found deleted web pages, found Brad's record for real estate fraud. Turns out, our town councilman had practiced stealing land. Things got uglier. The county threatened eminent domain, appraising my land for pennies compared to its real value. Then my cattle got sick. Runoff from their subdivision was poisoning my well. Hospitalized for chest pains, I got a visit from Vicky herself, offering $200,000 to drop the whole thing. She leaned over my bed, whispering, "Is dirt worth dying for?" That's when I knew it wasn't just about me. It was about stopping folks who prey on honest people. Out of the hospital, I learned Brad had rushed a city council vote to annex Heritage Meadows into town limits, which would override county law and seal the theft. But Ruby, she found the smoking gun, my granddad's old 1924 railroad contract. Tucked away in courthouse archives, it had an ironclad clause. Anything built without permission automatically became Thornfield property. No local judge or council could touch that. With satellite photos, old contracts, and records showing their fraud, we laid out our case. Their subdivision, houses, clubhouse, pool, golf course, was all mine by law. They'd even used my land as collateral for construction loans, layering fraud on fraud. The final showdown? Vicky threw a festival, hoping to rally support and push her annexation vote. But Ruby coordinated federal EPA inspectors to show up that very day, with whistleblowers ready to testify. We'd found environmental crimes, money laundering, and document forgery that spanned states. Festival day, the sky was clear, balloons and barbecue everywhere, kids playing on what was by now my land. Vicky handed me an oversized check on stage, pretending to offer peace. As cameras rolled, I read aloud from my grandfather's contract, showing that everything, their homes, their golf course, all of it was now mine. Federal agents stepped in, arresting Brad and Vicky on live TV. The crowd, at first angry and confused, quickly learned the truth. Many families realizing they'd been scammed by the people they trusted. EPA ordered an immediate evacuation for contamination, turning Heritage Meadows into a ghost town overnight. Federal marshals secured the property. Local officials went down one by one as the whole corruption web unraveled. 6 months later, I walked those fields again. No more fake lawns, no more trespassers, just the scent of honeysuckle and the sound of honest work. 23 families took my offer to stay as renters, later becoming homeowners on properly zoned, safe land. We turned 400 acres into a wildlife sanctuary. Ruby won awards for her reporting. Danny, the whistleblowing foreman, helped pass new laws protecting whistleblowers. Me? I teach surveying at the community college now, helping the next generation learn what matters. Honesty, accuracy, and standing up when folks try to steal what's rightfully yours. Every sunset, I visit Martha's grave and thank her for reminding me to fight for what's right, not what's easy. So, here's what I learned. Stand up for your land and your legacy, even when you're standing alone. Document everything. Seek good allies. Remember, when someone tries to steal your land, they're not just after dirt. They're after your family's story and your future. And if you ever find yourself facing a HOA Karen who thinks a clipboard can rewrite history, remember, sometimes justice is just a surveyor's tape away. Now let me turn it to you. Ever battled an HOA nightmare or land dispute? Share your story below. Your fight might give someone else the courage to push back against corruption in their own backyard. Where do you draw the line between justice and revenge? And when is it time to fight back, no matter the odds?